job there as a game designer. So that was my beginning of a career in gaming. But I found that I'm not that good at game designing or coding, so I switched my role to marketing and sales side. And then, and I
that was the, how I got into the gaming side. But I actually didn't like working for a gaming company. I found that it's something different. Like,
you like playing games, but you don't really like to work for a gaming company. It was a little casual. Like, it was shitty to work for a gaming company from young, ambitious man perspective. So I want to work for big companies. So I switched to banking.
How old were you then?
Around 10 years after I had an MBA. So I got I started my career in gaming in 2000. I got an MBA in 2008. And I started my career in banking from 2008 till 2017, which I joined Krafton as a CFO of one of the subsidiary. So that's how I got into Krafton. And then, we were very successful in a game called PUBG.
Did PUBG get banned in India? You want to talk about PUBG?
Yeah, I mean, like, it was more of a...
It was huge in India, right? Everybody was playing it.
Yeah, it's still big, but now it's BGMI, the new
Is it the
Indian
same
version.
thing with a different name?
No, it's a India-oriented game that made specifically for India, and it's a different publisher altogether. It has nothing to do with PUBG Mobile. That was a Tencent game. It was a Chinese company, the biggest gaming company you can call it. Tencent owns everything, like majority of the stuff.
What is the relationship between Tencent and Krafton?
Tencent is the investor. Tencent is an investor in Krafton before the IPO, and they still maintain some share.
So your BGMI is also you.
Yeah.
So you stopped PUBG to build BGMI, and now that is popular, like that.
PUBG is actually the original PUBG PC is a Krafton game, and then Tencent had the right to build the mobile version of it. And that's globally available PUBG Mobile. When India banned PUBG Mobile, Krafton came with Indian version of their thing. They made their own thing, BGMI,
Right.
which is Battlegrounds Mobile India.
And what are the differences between these games? One is more appealing than the other?
Technically nothing, but then it's more about the origin and everything else that they had to address to, launch the game in India.
But China does that to everybody, right? They don't even allow Facebook and Google in China, no?
Yeah, and for gaming apps or like even before the mobile era, they allow publishing of games on the approval basis, which is maybe China and Vietnam only in the world.
Do you feel like the world is becoming a more fragmented place, taking inspiration from China, a country which does not allow foreign apps and replicates it with their own versions? Will all IP that touches the citizens of a certain country in the future be built in the country, or at least be owned or hosted in that country?
It's a really interesting question, because I think that was the direction we were going, and we may go back to that again. It was being called Splinternet, basically. Like the idea that because China has its own internal policies where you need a license, you also need a local partner. They were banning a lot of apps from the US. There was the current situation now, and there was a time when Trump was president of the US and he was going to ban TikTok. It seemed like we were going to be moving more in that direction. We might again. But I do think that that's a danger. In actually, though, when it came to me starting a company here in India, that was a consideration, because we felt that if the world does move towards a splinternet, and if China and Russia are on one side, I want to be on the other side. And if India is split from China, currently one thing that's not well understood is that almost all of the top mobile shooter games are all developed by Chinese companies, effectively, right? And so
Why is that?
It's because they have developed deep expertise in shooters, and they also, there's been like a phenomenon in which like the Tencent teams and the Chinese teams they're just, the work ethic, the culture, they're just kind of crazy compared to the West, right? Like the West right now, if I'm just being honest, we're going to be honest here, right?
Yeah.
Is in kind of in decline, where you don't have the same work ethic, the same kind of drive. And I think when you look at budgets today, in the US, budgets are like, to make a game now is like $100, $300 million for like for an HD, a PC, or a console game. But in China, they're working 996. They've identified specific strategic areas that are important to them, and then they just go all in those areas. And mobile for shooters has been one of those areas. And so when you look at every game that they work on, you know, Call of Duty Mobile is actually developed by Tencent. They're using the IP of Activision, for example, right? And most of the, I would say that the skill, the technical expertise currently exists in China. One of the objectives of the company that I started was to hopefully do that here in India as well. But it's been tough.
Why is that?
I think that, so the Indian game development ecosystem is still early. And if you look at the historical context of the Indian game development ecosystem, it's been one that has been more of a services orientation, right? And so the model in India, in terms of the historical context, has been taking games from the West, at least mobile, that are in decline, and then getting a team in India to live operate it for greater margins, right, for lower cost. And so because of that historical context, there hasn't been like a culture, a knowledge, a skill set of new game development in India yet. I'm sure it's burgeoning, and there's certainly a lot of, you know, successful local game companies, but
Has there been a single game in India, built in India, that has reached scale in a true sense?
So I believe like the game at the highest scale from a downloads perspective is Game Xian's Ludo King. But really, it's
Game Xian.
Gameshin.
Yeah.
Game Xian. That's the Indian company?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. When I look at the charts, that's the only game that I see come, you know, on the top charts globally. But still, it's largely an Indian audience because there's so many Indians that love Ludo. It does.
And what scale are we talking? In terms of revenue coming out of the game?
I think that it has almost very little revenue, right? But from a downloads perspective, it's very
Download and active
We
users.
recently crossed $1 billion
Yeah.
I'm good to go.
In India.
Yeah, but
Yeah, monetization is
Signaling
a challenge.
right. And I think that's the opportunity for India, right?
Yeah.
Which is like if India can develop a similar kind of work ethic, skill set, and knowledge of monetization and how to monetize more strongly, then I think India has a great opportunity.
You know, just to add to that, Nikhil, we've been around for so long, right? So we've really seen the whole evolution of the Indian gaming industry, right from late 90s to where we are today in 24. I think one more reason is that unlike China, etc., which had a large PC gaming culture, gaming cafes, etc., for a very long period of time, India's really been a mobile gaming first nation. So most people playing games, the first experience has been the mobile phone, very casual gaming. So just that culture takes time to develop. Even when you're thinking as a game designer, as a game developer, there's an evolution. Up to 2010, you would not see that at all. Then you had Zyngas of the world and Electronic Arts of the world set up shop, back offices in Bangalore and Hyderabad, etc. And you've started seeing some of those come out, set up some companies which are now becoming successful. So I think we're going up that curve. Hopefully we'll accelerate up that curve.
But I think he was making a good point.
Yeah.
Joseph is saying there is the ecosystem in India is not capable of producing a game which can really compete on the world stage. What do you think India has to change that?
I think there has to be a few things that change. I would say probably the most important thing is talent. So look, I live in Silicon Valley, okay? The smartest guys in Silicon Valley are all Indian, right? And so they certainly have, like Indians can be the smartest anywhere. They're all all the tech CEOs are all Indian in Silicon Valley.
Do you think that's the problem? The smart ones are going out of the country?
That's one of the problems. But I think that gaming in India has a double problem. So first, yes, there are a lot of people in India when they get an opportunity to like 7x, 10x their salary by going abroad, and they have that opportunity because they've developed a skill set here, then they'll go. I think the other thing is more of a cultural issue that I had discovered over the past few years that I've been here in India, which is that gaming, at least, and you guys please disagree with me, but in my experience, it seems like gaming is not looked upon favorably by a lot of Indian parents. And so when somebody wants to go into gaming, they really have to want to go into gaming. But otherwise, I think a lot of the parents, they typically would want to go to join like some high-tech firm, an Amazon, a Google, a Facebook, a company like that, rather than join a gaming company. And so the image of a gaming company, unlike in the West, right? Like in the West, joining a game company is looked upon very favorably for a number of reasons, right? It's generally
I got an enemy right here.
like leads in terms of innovation. A lot of the people that are in gaming actually are highly coveted by Facebook, Google, high-tech companies. But that kind of feeling and that kind of orientation towards gaming in the U.S. versus India is so different. So then you not only lose talent overseas, but you also lose talent to other local Indian industries.
I got your back.
And what do you think should change in India to culturally make gaming a career in gaming?
I think it's more of an education, right? So I can name so many of my friends that went from gaming to join Facebook or Amazon or Netflix. And I think if some of the Indian employees here or people who are considering going into gaming understood, wow, I didn't know that those companies really sought people from gaming because gaming is so innovative and it is so cross-disciplinary and you have to learn a lot of complex skills when you're in gaming. So that is not well understood here. And I think that the other thing also that hasn't happened is that because again, the historical context of a lot of the Indian gaming companies has been more on the live ops services orientation, that there hasn't been the level of coaching or of the high-tech companies trying to hire people out of Indian gaming companies yet. And I think when that happens, and I think that happens from people who have learned from a company building new games that are very successful, right? Then they'll be poached fairly regularly or sought after. I think that's when it becomes more popular.
Can you tell me a way? Assume I'm a young 20-year-old Indian boy, girl, and I want to get a job at Leela Games, your company. Yeah. What should I learn?
Well, I think it would depend on the specific role that you're looking for. So if it's product management, I would be looking for one thing. If it's engineering, it would be completely different.
All right.
But I would say like a general bit of advice for anyone that's new looking to join a gaming company is to essentially think outside of the resume and to build, I call it a digital footprint, but basically like show me what you know, show me what you can do. That's just not like lines on your resume. So whether it's projects or whether it's like blog posts where I can see how you think, because I will say, having been recruiting here for the last 3.5 years and having interviewed and looked at thousands and thousands of resumes, I would say that most people generally don't stand out because they don't actually show me anything that they've done that really tells me that they care.
Evo harvesters are now available.
Hold on. Shields recharging. I'm out of energy ammo. 잘 보고 다녀. There are 2 squads near us.
There is a new kill leader. Ring closing.
Inside the next ring. I'm fine. Just fixing up. 잘 보고 다녀. There are 2 squads near us.
Care package being delivered.
Got the banner. Hey, enemy got my drone. The banner is right there.
Attention, the champion has been eliminated.
Give me a second. Fixing up. One squad in the area. We have the drop. I'm recalling my drone. 조심하자. One squad nearby. One squad in the area. We have the drop.
We brought experts from around the world in various areas that the team was not strong in. We brought them to China, had them teach by going abroad.
Like to tell us more about yourself, Joseph? Like generally live?
I'm a guy that's trying to do something. Give you a very live example. Krafton worked with a company called Zepto Lab that has a game for the global market. And they worked with them to make an Indian-specific version of the game. So I don't know what the exact deal terms were, but I assume that they would pay for part or full development cost.
Share. Yeah.
They would have a revenue share with them, may potentially give them a guarantee of some kind, some initial, payment, and then it would be up to Krafton to actually market and distribute the game. The developer, after they finished developing the game, would either for a premium game they'd be done, or a live operated free-to-play game, they would continue to operate the game and share in the success of the game through a revenue share.
Interesting. And when I read that you were at Sega Games, by Sega do you mean that console which we used to have back then?
Yeah, so
I remember playing that.
So after I kind of did consulting, I joined a company called FunPlus, and actually had a pretty big success.
I'm the jump
And
master.
the
Stay
model that I
close.
learned at FunPlus is the model that I'm actually trying to bring to India. And so at FunPlus, we had something that I call a leads-based model. But essentially, we took, at that time, a fairly inexperienced team in Beijing. And this was during a period like 2014, 15 or so, when China was not as dominant as it is today. And we had a team in Beijing. We brought experts from around the world in various areas that the team was not strong in. We brought them to China, had them teach the team, and then we developed games out of China. The game that I developed was called King of Babylon, but that turned out to be a pretty big success. And then after FunPlus, I joined Sega. basically in their mobile games division. So
Was
basically,
Sega the machine on which we used to
It
play
was.
Contra
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Mario and all
that's
that?
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sega.
I've played a lot of it. Contra, Mario Brothers.
Yeah, Sega exited hardware, the console business, a number of years ago, but still develops games through a number of different game studios, and is actually diversified in like hotels, pachinko, and things like that, like a lot of other things as well.
You know, funnily enough, when you mentioned earlier gaming centers, when I was a kid growing up, I'm thinking age 6 or 7, they used to be gaming centers where there would be Sega machines and you would pay per hour and play Contra for an hour.
More than arcade machines, arcade centers, yeah.
Oh, just to finish the loop, after Sega, I joined NBC Universal, which is a big media company, and then started this company about 3.5 years ago.
Okay, moving to the youngest one here.
Yeah, that's what I
Animesh.
was thinking. I've had the shortest professional run in the gaming industry until now.
Your online name is 8-Bit Thug.
Yeah.
Where was that inspired from? Do you feel like you're a thug in real life?
Not really. People do think that I'm a little bit of like have a bullyish nature in the gaming industry, but that's not true. I think that's just because things that I've been luckily been able to do, which I'm very proud of across the last 6 years. The name story is very simple. 8-Bit was my clan name in a game called Clash Royale, which I was heavily invested into as a casual gamer, not professionally. I was pursuing my CA inters, and I had something to do because I didn't want to step out, spend a lot of time studying. So that was a game I was heavily invested into. I made a clan 8-Bit. That's how the prefix of my name came in. And Thug is actually a short form of Thug Life, which is also from a song from a movie called Dictator. College days, nothing to do. I said it's a good name, getting fascinated by movies. So, and then actually when I used to play PUBG Mobile, it did not take 8-Bit Thug Life as my full name. So I left out life and it's 8-Bit Thug and rest is history.
Why 8-bit?
8-Bit, my team name.
Then why did you pick 8-bit for your team?
Okay, so interesting question. When I was playing Clash Royale, there were 8 people from across the world who met in the game who founded 8-Bit. So there was one guy from Austria, couple from US, one from Australia. So we used to call ourselves 8 bits of the entire clan system. And then we all just fell off, and I just continued the name and established.
I thought that, thank you. I thought that you are like, fan of classic games.
Not really. I've
from
always been
8-bit
fan
eras.
of high graphic intensive games, yeah.
So I'm going to ask you most questions because you're the protagonist of the Indian gaming story in a way, or the career in gaming.
Right.
You came from a non-gaming background and today you're a professional gamer in India. So tell us the story from the beginning. And then I'll ask you things like money, opportunity, all of that. So how did you enter game?
Right. So I'll go back to the beginning. Actually, I come from a middle class family. My father is a chartered accountant. My sister is a chartered accountant. I was pursuing.
You're going to get trolled for calling chartered accountant middle class, but continue.
No. Yeah, but it is a story. Even I realize right now that how I was in the middle class segment when my father was a CA, but okay, that's a different story. And I was pursuing CA. My life goal was inspired from Hrithik Roshan, ZNMD investment banker banna hai, Goldman Sachs. I was doing CFA. I cleared CFA level 1. I pursued FRM. I cleared its level 1. But I did all of this when I was shy of 24, like 6 years back. So I realized, and I used to play a lot of games, but not professionally. Just play games, watch some of the biggest streamers at that point, like Ninja, Shroud, and a game called Fortnite, which is still one of the very popular titles, caught my attention. I don't know why, like today I have an answer why people watch games, but then I did not have an answer. And I used to wake up at 6:30 AM Indian time in Bangalore just to watch Ninja or these guys go live because of the time zone difference. They used
Why? I still don't get it. When I can play, I guess one can say the same about sport.
That's the answer. The question itself is the answer.
I have never watched anybody stream, but I'm trying to wrap my head around why is it so much fun to watch someone play a video game?
I think the nature of video games that's being played, the competitiveness that it brings, the storyline that it brings. I think a lot of greatest content creators are great storytellers. So they bring a different angle to apart from the story that is within the game. So those are a few things that really holds the audience together. And also the competitive side is the biggest part.
So
of
wait,
it.
somebody is watching the game. There is a content creator on top of the game who's giving commentary.
Right.
And you're watching the commentary.
Right, and because the way I think when you play story mode games are games which have a particular story, and once you finish the story, the game is done. You don't need to play it again. I think a lot of greatest content creators that I've seen, big gamers, they are excellent storytellers. I mean, like the
Give me
way
some
they.
examples.
I think if you look at a story mode game, something like God of War, very popular game way back